DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Game Day Live show. It is Wednesday. It's an 11-game main slate over on DraftKings. It is a 14-game slate over on FanDuel. It's a wild slate if you're playing on FanDuel with all of the players rolled in or out. So good luck to all of you. Our guy Justin Carlucci is on the Playbook today. We've been chatting with him. He's working through it all. Get all the latest information out for you guys. Get you ready for those 10 p.m. games. But again, we're focusing on DraftKings. We don't have to deal with too much of that ever-changing injury.
Whoa, hold on. Whoa. Please stop.
Knock on wood here. That we
please refrain from going there, John.
I won't make guarantees. But the DraftKings slate's at least for now a little bit cleaner than the FanDuel slate. We do appreciate you all tuning in. Apologies for running a little bit behind. We're getting some things set up on our end for you guys here today, but we appreciate the early support. Timothy popping in, saying, let's go, need those hot picks here. Cameron Diaz popping in. What's up, Cameron? Jeff P. always in here. Sasha from Sydney. Zevon in there. Rolly, Michael, and the Prince all on there. The Prince needs the FanDuel fire. The Prince, you have your work cut out for you today, sir. Portis killed a lot of people out. Well, sort of. I mean,
80%
he was
rostered.
Very highly rostered. So while yes, he did not play the minutes that he has always played when Giannis is ruled out, not having him certainly was a better play. But everybody was kind of in on him and ate that dust. So we'll look for better options here. Again, if you guys have FanDuel specific questions, throw them in the chat. We're happy to help you guys out. I see through you popping in. I know you guys are in the Discord with us. Always getting ready. And like I said, Carlucci's got the playbook coming out. We got the updated ownership for now out, and we'll continue to update that through the 7 p.m. hour here before we hit Thanksgiving. Certainly appreciate all of you guys who are tuning in each and every day, especially the eve before Thanksgiving. I'm sure a lot of you got some prep and everything that you got to go on. So happy to have you joining us tonight. James, how we doing, man? We got 11 games. You did all the pick'em articles for today. So if you're looking for underdog prize picks and sleeper articles, that's out there on Fantasy Alarm, courtesy of Mr. Grande. Give me your thoughts as we go down and break down the slate today.
It's a fun slate. I think, we have obviously a lot of teams on back-to-backs. There's not a lot of spend ups, not at least like, Giannis, Jokic, 12K plus. That's over on the FanDuel slate. We do have Wemby, we do have Davis, we do have LaMelo, who did pop on the injury report. Just worth a mention. It's probable, but we've seen this a couple times now, right? Probables turn into outs, especially. I mean, he doesn't play for Brooklyn, so if it was Brooklyn, he might as well have the out next to him. But I think it's a very interesting slate. There's not that one guy that everyone's going to. When we look at the ownership, it is so spread out. Because one, as you led off with, we haven't had the slate breaking news yet. And I still think that that's in the cards to happen. I know it's getting late, but there was a specific team that played starters 45 minutes last night. There was, there are back-to-backs with guys that are a little banged up. And what's going to happen with Dallas? Ultimately, we saw another injury pop up on Dallas with Daniel Gafford. So right now, the water, John, on DraftKings, very still, right? It's very still. There has not been a lot of movement. There's been terrible value, I think, that is projected for ownership all day long that I have not liked to look at. And we need more. So right now, there's a lot still to come with who's in, who's out. But yeah, it's a fun 11-game slate over on DraftKings.
Yep, 100%. Guys, we do have our Black Friday sale still going on right here. You get save $100 off the annual All-Pro subscription with promo code BF24. That's less than $16 a month for the year. Wraps right around to next Black Friday, where we will most certainly have yet another deal that you guys can take advantage of. Our usual monthly cost is almost $40 a month. So again, you're getting more than 50% off here when you buy the annual subscription. FantasyAlarm.com/Black Friday. Scan that QR code right there. Get access to all content, all products, all benefits. That includes draft guides, lineup generator, Discord, projections, articles, betting articles, you name it. If it comes out on Fantasy Alarm, you have access to it for a year for less than $16 a month. That's fantasyalarm.com/Black Friday, promo code BF24. You can scan the QR codes right there on the screen to take advantage of that offer that runs out on Sunday when Black Friday is over. So don't hesitate, jump on there now. Let's get it going. Point guard position, as you mentioned, LaMelo Ball popped up on the injury report today as probable. Would not be the first player. Cam Thomas pops up as probable, and then questionable, and then out. We got LaMelo here, 10-3. Cade Cunningham up as doubtful, not expected to play, but was seen at shoot-around this morning. So who knows? Maybe we get a 6 p.m. questionable upgrade here. Always a potential possibility when we have that at 98. We got Kyrie 96, Edwards 95, Trae Young questionable at $9,200, De'Aaron Fox 91, James Harden 9K.
Yeah, I mean, point guard's interesting today. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about LaMelo, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take 1 billion shots. That's probably why his wrist hurts, because he's taking 1 billion shots.
Yeah.
30, 38, 27, 13 in Brooklyn, only played 24 minutes. That's the game he got benched in. 29 the game before. I mean, you have to go back. I mean, he is taking so many shots this year. And he's been amazing lately. So if you want to get to LaMelo, by all means, he gets the Heat on the second leg of a back-to-back after a really tough loss for Miami to basically have a fake comeback, right? They battled all the way back from 22 to against Milwaukee at home to a Giannis-less Bucks team and lost. So very tough for them to then have to, face this beast. I expect a lot of trapping. I watched, if you watch that game at all against the Bucks, they did that the entire second half against Dame. I expect that Caleb Martin, the first domino to fall, he's ruled out for the 76ers. But you could definitely get to LaMelo Ball. He's perfectly fine. Not a lot of ownership, truthfully, as much as I'd expect there to be on LaMelo Ball. So if you're getting a low owned LaMelo, he obviously, can score with the best of them. I'm a little, even if Cade plays, I know like we saw him at shoot around. I'm okay with it. Just the fact that there's an injury here and there's so many good options in this tier would maybe deter me a little bit. Like if everyone's out for Dallas again, the Knicks are a bottom 10 defensive team. This is a good spot for Kyrie. Trae probably not getting to. But like De'Aaron Fox, no DeMar DeRozan playing 40 minutes a night. Yeah. Sure, he got put in the torture chamber last game. That happens to the best of them, right? The torture chamber is a really tough place to be. One of the toughest, as we've seen. Ask Brandon Ingram every time they play OKC. Perfectly fine getting to 40 minutes of De'Aaron Fox with how well he's played lately. James Harden is in a super elite spot. And if you look at some of this stuff from James Harden, the fantasy points per minute have been super, super elite. He has just run into blowouts. Like last 2 games, 41 fantasy points against the Celtics, 30 minutes. 40 fantasy points essentially against Philly, 27 minutes. And then you get him full complement against Sacramento, 50. I mean, the usage rate's great. I know Norm was at shoot around. Maybe that takes a little bit of the scoring burden off Harden, but doesn't help the peripheral, or doesn't hurt the peripheral stats, especially in the assist category. So I like Harden quite a bit. And then the whole 8K tier, I think, is interesting as well.
I mean, the 8K tier certainly full of talent. Scotty Barnes, Jalen Brunson's 89, Halliburton 86. Got a returning DeJounte Murray. We got Maxey at $8,100. We mentioned the Halliburton thing almost every show. And we just keep saying, like, if he starts to hit his shots, there's going to be tremendous upside for him at his price point. And there it was, 68 fantasy points. He's now up to 86. It's got Portland, though. For me, it's still one of the top plays. We have Scotty Barnes as the cover of the preview show. We're obviously super high on him as well. Do you find yourself gravitating more towards this 8K range than the top guys?
Yeah, I just saw Toronto Dave in the chat. I think this was couldn't have been what I needed more to see Toronto Dave in chat when
Scotty Barnes is back. Toronto Dave's back.
Scotty Barnes is back. Toronto Dave's back. If you go to Fantasy Alarm, there's about 5 pieces of NBA content we have today that include Scotty Barnes on the cover. So to say we are collectively in on Scotty Barnes feels like an understatement. I think he's as elite as it gets today. I even tweeted out only 6% of the fields go, like nobody's playing him. It's 6%. That lowered since the first update this morning. He had a 32% usage rate last game, John, 26 shots. And I guess we have to find out, maybe Toronto Dave can do some digging here, if Scotty's going to be wearing goggles or not, because obviously goggles Scotty is different than every other version of Scotty. But he had like since being back, 14 potential assists, leads the team, 13 potential rebounds, second on the team behind Jakob Poeltl. So like, it's not just the high usage. We're getting like he's their leading assist guy. He potentially could, challenge Poeltl. We saw last game 14 rebounds, potential rebounds. And then, you factor in the Pelicans play slow. Yes. They're also tied for 29th in defense. So Scotty Barnes is someone that I'm super high on. Best position eligibility on the board, point guard, small forward. Absolutely love this low owned tournament play. Same thing could really be said about Jalen Brunson, who I think, I'm very high on Karl Anthony Towns today. And I think what's going under the radar is how good Jalen Brunson has been passing. 18.5 potential assists. I wrote up a prop on Jalen Brunson today as well. 18.5 potential assists during this recent stretch. The minutes, 38, 37, 37. He's always a guy that was like, kind of injured. So always the one starter that was like kind of losing out run. Not anymore. Like even with McBride and Payne being extended, it's not Brunson losing any time. So we know the scoring acumen. We know now that like, holy cow, this guy is racking up assists too. Like Halliburton's going to be popular. It's a great spot. He's at home and, the home road splits are obviously something. There's something there where he's just uncomfortable on the road and no one's talking poorly about him, and he needs, he's happy to hear the cheers of his home crowd. But I think great pivots are Scotty and Jalen Brunson today because, like no one's playing those guys. I mean, nobody is playing Scotty Barnes with significantly better eligibility than everyone else.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, we got the word that Trae Young is active for tonight. So again, we are getting some news coming through here. You mentioned obviously the Caleb Martin out. They're going double big.
I see that. I see that.
So you got that. At least they're going with the Drummond Yabusele power forward center combo here tonight. So you can be on the lookout for that. It's to me, it makes you like the guards more. And now it's not a great matchup for Philly going against Houston, but Maxey and McCain are certainly in some pretty good spots here. Offensively, Hero at $8,200 as well. Jaden Ivey, someone that we played a lot of the other night. If there's no Kate Cunningham, we go back to that well.
Yeah, and sneaky injury news. Tobias Harris is also questionable for that game.
Yeah.
So if there's no Toby and no Cade, I mean, we're talking every possession, multiple touches for Jaden Ivey. Like it's going to flow through him. If Toby sits, who do we think starts? Fontecchio? That's your fifth starter. Like, I don't think Asar Thompson is necessarily going to just suddenly play 30 minutes if Toby sat. So yeah, everything would kind of run through Jaden Ivey, point guard, shooting guard eligibility. It would be a great spot. You would just, you would obviously, if there's no Toby, you would just worry if this game can stay competitive. But if that game stays competitive, why would it not be because Jaden Ivey is torching everybody?
I agree. Anthony commenting on our statement yesterday regarding Giannis. Giannis got ruled out. But he's saying no 10K player in the winning lineup. Everybody played Lillard, who is essentially a 10K player when there's no Giannis. I'm not going to sit here and say that if Giannis was still in, you wouldn't have had 60% of the field playing a $8,900 Dame Lillard. So
right.
More often than not, you probably would have had someone going to Wemby or someone going to Anthony Davis had Giannis not gotten ruled out there. So it is slate dependent there, Anthony. Yeah, sure. Last night you didn't need a 10K play, but you got 66 from a 9K guard. So
yeah, that was the difference. you messaged me right after the show. You're like, wow, everything's just changed. Like nothing we said on the show mattered at that point because Dame and Portis became the two highest rostered players of the night.
Right. If we knew that Giannis was ruled out, we probably would have agreed with you, honestly. But that wasn't the way the ownership was showing earlier. So everything has to be taken into context there.
Right.
Is Eric Gordon a good value? Asked Michael. Did you dust off Eric Gordon today?
In the year, if this was 2017, I would say yes.
What's their backup guard rotation, I guess, tonight then?
All right. Well, show's own Jeff Dowden. We have his cousin watching our show, right? Jeff Dowden would be probably in a spot. Reggie Jackson could be dust off. Also, Eric Gordon. I mean, nothing of back like here's the problem I think with Philly backup guards to begin with. Maxi's going to play probably as close to full as we've gotten. He played 30 minutes in a blowout. So 34 to 35 minutes is probably like safe projection. And then if McCain, like we saw in a competitive game, 37, 41, 39 minutes. So if this game stays competitive, we're going to play, they're just going to play their guards mid to high 30s minutes.
Yeah, Power has mentioned KJ Martin. This is obviously before we knew the starting lineup, but KJ Martin's probably pretty live to get all the backup wing run here in this game. So
he played all of it the other day. I mean, when you look at their rotation, he played a bunch of minutes. Now, they didn't do the Yabusele Drummond thing at all, but like Nick Nurse is just we're searching right now, right? We're trying to find, and also Nick Nurse has said from the beginning that he viewed Yabusele more as a power forward.
Right.
Also a good spot to do it. Like if Jabari Smith is extended in this game, you know, they have two big forwards or members of the front court Houston does. So speaking of Houston, by the way, I do think we're at the point guard position here. I do think Van Vliet would be the most live to sit, right? At 71. Like, so just throwing that out there.
Okay, got Bane, White, Jordan Poole here at 67. We got confirmation Jalen Suggs will play. I was a big fan of him this morning. Would have no problems going back here at 6,500.
Yeah, I mean it's a great spot, obviously. I don't know, like Orlando's weird to me today because this is the healthiest they've been in a little while. Getting Suggs back, obviously they lost Gary Harris, but now there's the Cole Anthony thing off the bench. How many minutes does he play? Wendell Carter's back. He's playing like 14 to 16 minutes. What does that center room look like? So I'm good with Suggs, just kind of a little indifferent, you know, with how things have now changed for them. Like it's obviously a great spot if you want to play Orlando. Play Orlando. Like they have the best spot on the board. Chicago's bottom 3 in defense and top 2 in pace. So by no means do I think Jalen Suggs is a bad play.
No, where else are we going here? Point guard.
Portland is obviously interesting. I think they become way more interesting once we get statuses of players. Like DeAndre Ayton's questionable. Does DeAndre Ayton play tonight? If not, who fills in? Scoot Henderson's questionable. Does Scoot Henderson play? If not, who fill like then Shaedon Sharpe and Anthony Simons become incredibly interesting. Yeah. So if Scoot plays, I think slight bump down to both, but you should see mid 30s from both of them. They're going to both start. So I think Scoot being in would honestly impact Delano Banton the most.
Sure.
So definitely can get to Sharpe, definitely can get to Simons. Scottie Pippen is obviously interesting. The minutes really do fluctuate quite a bit. No job, but now there's Marcus Smart. So what is the expectation? Is it mid-20s minutes? Is it like, can he get to the 31 that he played against Chicago? Sure, but does he have to be that good? Probably. Because eventually, like, the Grizzlies will be extending Marcus Smart. You know,
right.
You're going to get Marcus Smart in significant role, just given when they need him defensively. When like you're playing these teams in series in the postseason. So, shout out Lonzo. I should have worn the Lonzo jersey tonight. I have a Lonzo Chicago jersey. I should have wore it on the show.
I see you mentioning Ty Jerome, who's been
Hey,
getting.
dude, he has been.
He was bad for one game. Can you guess which one John played him? 11 fantasy points here against Philadelphia.
I mean, he has been now. Like, part of it is Karis LeVert being out has obviously helped him.
Yep.
Right. Part of it has been he's just unconscious from the field. I mean, he has been unfathomably be good, and there's even like 6-man buzz. But what is that? What happens when LeVert's back?
Right.
There's no LeVert though. At the end of the day, in a really good spot against Atlanta. So if you want to play Ty Jerome, can't stop you. Can't hate it.
DeAndre Ayton is active tonight. Jalen Smith is out. So Bulls lose a center. Portland gains a center. No Jeremy Grant this evening.
So we should get the Scoot news to follow.
Any minute.
Right?
Any minute. Yeah. Any second here. Let's see. Henderson in tonight.
I mean, that hurts. I mean, that definitely hurts Portland. Like
Chris Murray out as well, by the way.
Yeah, that hurts. I mean, it hurts, the Portland stuff. Portland, I think we'll get to a good Portland play in a couple of positions. DeAndre Ayton might also be a decent play, but we'll get to who I think is priority for Portland. But I definitely think the guards are really tough to get to with Scoot being back.
Mm-hmm. All right, value guards here tonight. Anybody of note that you're looking to key in on?
I think Malik Monk is interesting in a tournament. 26 minutes upon returning from the sprained ankle. Now no DeMar DeRozan, no Trey Lyles. They're gonna lean on him. You know, they've basically the move to Keon Ellis basically told me what I needed about Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter's probably, I mean, going to play some minutes, but he played 10 minutes after getting benched, right? They're going to need him because DeRozan's out, but I think Malik Monk, we're going to see 30 minutes out of him. He is a very good playmaker, very good shot maker. So Monk is interesting in tournaments with no DeRozan. He's going to be essentially unowned. Then it's like, what do you do with a couple of the situations? Minnesota's one of them and Dallas is the other. Just kind of waiting. I also think, and we saw the injury news pop for the Lakers earlier.
Yeah,
we probably don't know. There's a few things going on here. Connect and Reddish both popped on the injury report as questionable. So, you know, the most logical thing, if both those guys sit, would be Russell back into the starting lineup or Max Christie would probably start. And either way, D'Angelo would play a lot of minutes in either of those scenarios. So I think D'Lo is potential. They also have talked about moving Connect back into the starting lineup. That's another Reddit comment that Connect might start. Yeah. So, you know, I do think if guys sit, D'Angelo Russell becomes one of the better point guard values of the day, just given his price. But of course, we won't know, right? There's just not a chance we know. But
he got the 29 minutes last night. It was pretty good. So,
and he's 45. Like, if Connect and Reddish get ruled out, there's essentially no chance I'm not playing Russell because I wouldn't care if Christie's started.
Yeah,
Christie's it's like the Cam Reddish thing, right? He's playing in for defense, and it's a placeholder until like they move to their best five. So I would have a lot of interest in D'Angelo if guys sit for the Lakers.
Sure. And we have obviously the Dallas news if guys are ruled out. There's Dinwiddie and Hardy. And then we mentioned Dillingham. We needing Mike Conley to be ruled out for tonight, most likely. But we talked about it. They traded 2 first-round picks with the Spurs to get Dillingham this past year. So they obviously like the kid. They targeted the kid. One of those picks is an unprotected first-round pick. Now, it's not for another 7 years because the NBA allows that for whatever reason. But, you know, in 7 years, the Timberwolves will look a whole lot different, and maybe the Spurs will have a top pick here. But 10, 16, 24, double-digit shot attempts in the last 2 games. Dillingham's pretty interesting, I think, tonight if Mike Conley ends up being ruled out again.
Conley's in.
There you go. All right. We just got news now. Norm Powell ruled out. I think we knew that was coming, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Norm was at shoot-around today, so I thought I thought there was a chance he was coming back.
Powell out, Mo Bamba in for the Clippers.
Dude, James Harden, man, the price for Harden is without Norm in the spot. The price and the spot is really, really good. I mean, Washington, obviously, near the bottom of the league. They're dead last in defensive rating, and they're fourth in pace. Like, you're not going to get a much better Clipper spot than this. So without Norm, we're at point guard still. You could also play KPJ at 42. Sure. There's obviously some upside with KPJ off the bench as well.
Going on to shooting guard, Timothy's mentioned Donovan Mitchell here a few times. Obviously, we know what he can give us. He had that run of 60 plus and 50 plus the last couple of games. Maybe it coincides with Ty Jerome going nuclear here, but we got Mitchell against Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, he has a massive ceiling. If you want to play Donovan Mitchell and he gets in, I say this with Devin Booker for the last 5 years, right? Donovan Mitchell scored 70 points in a game. So, we know that he has a crazy ceiling when he is feeling good. And I think with how well he shot the three this year, over 41%, I mean, he is a walking bucket. So if you want to play Donovan Mitchell, it's a great spot. You obviously know that Dyson Daniels is guarding him. But we said this the other day with Levine, right? Levine scored 27, 28 points against Dyson Daniels. It's not always how that works, right? Dyson Daniels gets switched and then suddenly he's in a mismatch. So if you want to play Donnie Mitch, I think that's, perfectly fine.
Where's our next talking point? We have, obviously, we talked Edwards, there's Irving, Tyler Hero against Charlotte. Levine gets Orlando in a kind of a tougher spot. Miller is getting a lot of ownership love. And then if LaMelo Ball ends up being ruled out, I would imagine everybody just goes to Brandon Miller here.
Yeah, I'm with the field on Brandon Miller. I have a lot of interest, and it would obviously be tougher for Brandon Miller if there's no LaMelo Ball, because then what the heck are they even going to do at that point? Micic is now the best play on the board because you probably start, or Nick Smith, whoever their starting point guard is. But the minutes for Brandon Miller have been elite. The rebounding, the assists have been fine. The peripheral, everything has been elite. And the shot volume is obviously not going anywhere. So with all their injuries, I am highly invested in Brandon Miller as well. Shooting guard, small forward, it doesn't really get better. That would be my next talking point after Donovan Mitchell. I would just go right to Brandon Miller because we talked about Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
But that would be just where I would gravitate to as well.
Miller 74. We get Mathurin against Portland at 67. We've seen him. The rebounding has kind of been out of this world odd for him here. We know the scoring upside. If you want in tournaments, Mathurin for me is certainly in play. What else are we looking at as we work our way down the shooting guard? A lot of these guys have dual positional eligibility, so we have hit on a few of them. Beasley at 56, if Cade does stay out of the lineup, I think is still a good value here.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt Beasley if Toby got ruled out either. They would just need who would be the secondary scorer in that starting lineup. It would probably just I shouldn't even say probably. They would rely on Michael Beasley. I did it. Malik Beasley. I did it what you did.
You're welcome.
Mike, it's literally all your fault. So yeah, Beasley is definitely in play.
Here's the Dallas news. Klay Thompson ruled out. Lively is active. Gafford is out for tonight. Quentin Grimes is active. So no Klay, no Gafford, Lively, and Grimes are in.
Terrible. Honestly, pretty bad.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna go. So you get Kyrie, Grimes, Lively, PJ for sure. Probably Najee Marshall.
Yeah,
but right. Obviously they've extended Dinwiddie
to 3 or something like that.
Yeah, or they could play right and start Hardy and then just bring. But man, how do you not reward Najee with a start after how good he's been?
Games, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, not the best Dallas news. I would say maybe the best
news was good.
Yeah, maybe the best break was for Lively, because now potentially we're getting Derek Lively with Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleba as their like
Maxey, right? You think
as
probably the Maxey?
yeah, I mean right. Or just like throw the wily cagey veteran Powell at Karl Anthony Towns for a few minutes, right? Let him just like battle. Definitely not a bad thing for Lively that he's in the lineup without Gafford. But definitely an awkward Grimes being in, I think is like would have liked that should be different, but it is an illness. So obviously, if he's still feeling the effects, he could just leave the game at some point. And then Hardy and Dinwiddie plays are back in our lives a little bit.
Sure. Castle was really good again last night. I don't think we're really concerned about a back-to-back with the rookie here at 5,200.
No, I mean the only thing is that Devin Vassell is projected to play. That would be the only difference. Like that Devin Vassell is eventually going to be extended. Is it because now
at the expense of Castle the way he's been playing?
No, but I think there's a chance that it chips away from everybody. Just like given that it is the second leg of a back-to-back, like as great as he was last night, Stephon Castle played 29 minutes, right?
Sure.
Does that mean does 29 become 26, 27? I mean, it's like the same thing that we talked about with like Dalton Connect. Do you think like Rui coming back, is that going to, it did, right? Connect's role has sucked. And I'm not saying this is like apples to apples comparison because it's two different teams, but like,
and Vassell was always coming off the bench anyways. I think it impacts Champagny probably a little bit more.
I would also agree that it does in fact impact Champagny, and also like probably some of like they played Blake Wesley a bunch of minutes last night. They played Trey Jones a bunch of minutes. Like those are minutes that are probably also like live to go away, where like Stephon Castle's played so well and was picked so highly, like his minutes aren't going away.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm disagreeing. I'm also just bringing it to the forefront that like there is a possibility that we could see Vassell cut into like a bunch of guys. And
Vassell himself has been limited because he hasn't, he was obviously hurt. His season best was 25 minutes. In that game, Castle played 27. So, a few fewer minutes, and that was his high. Champagny still played 33.
Was somebody not in that game? Like if we're Trey Jones, probably was Trey Jones not playing in that game?
Not. Nope. Wesley played 13. Brandon played 13 though. Vassell played 25. There was no Trey Jones.
Trey Jones has been playing pretty healthy minutes. I mean, last night he played 19. The game before 23. So
this was the Wemby 50 bomb against Washington. Was that game?
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Which also, who knows, maybe has a little bit to do.
Again, not. I'm also not saying I'm against Castle. That's not what I'm saying. But I just do think that it's worth noting Vassell coming back. He's going to play. I mean, he is paid very handsomely because he's a very good player.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take minutes from people, right? Sure. It's just who is obviously the question.
Yep, I agree with you. Again, Toumani Kamara's been playing well, but who knows what with their rotation, everybody's kind of back now. Except for Grant, but I feel like Denny is the primary benefactor than Toumani Kamara, but Kamara's been pretty decent off the bench for them probably now, moving into that spot. We mentioned Bogdan. Minutes are on the rise here, 23, 26, now 28. So maybe that continues, but I'm okay paying the 5K if he's going to play 28 minutes. I think there's some upside there. Douglas saying Russell or Dinwiddie as last man in. I'd like to see the starting lineups, and I'd like to get clarity on the Lakers situation. I think before we fully commit, my gut instinct is probably going to say Russell, but what do you think?
Same, because, Reddish and Connect were active last night, and he played 29 minutes, so that's obviously a good sign.
We did see Dinwiddie playing over Hardy when the team was healthy earlier, so if we assume that sort of stays the same, then Dinwiddie should be playing over Hardy tonight, I would assume.
I agree. I think that's a fair way to look at it. Like, I think it's safe to assume that Dinwiddie's like a mid-20s projected minutes guy, right? Like 24 and a half, 25 and a half. D'Lo, obviously range of outcomes has been all over the place lately. So he played well in a couple games, and he's been extended, and he's played poorly in others, and you get 16 fantasy points in 18 minutes. So I mean, it's range of outcomes is obviously a factor here. The answer is easily Russell if others are ruled out.
Yeah.
It's
won't. I mean, you'll have to make that decision sooner. Right?
Dallas starts an hour before. Yeah, Dallas is 7:30. Lakers are the quote on this slate, the late night hammer.
Yeah. All right. Other shooting guards here.
We're down here in the dumps here.
Any value? I mean, we talked Quentin Jackson earlier. Obviously, 43.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna start, and another guy with I think a pretty wide range of outcomes in terms of minutes. I don't think blowouts necessarily hurt Quentin Jackson either, right? Because he's a rookie, and they're gonna play him if it's a blowout. So,
what happened with this Washington game? You just didn't.
0 for 5.
I said they just didn't play him.
Didn't make shots.
Carlisle just pulling the plug on him.
Being Carlisle, yeah. Indifferent. I think it's if that's your last piece in, and we're obviously gonna get ownership updates, and we're gonna get roster updates. The value's gross tonight.
Yeah.
So if you settle on a 4,300 starter and he makes shots like he did last game, then you might have a leg up on the field because nobody's playing him. So
do you feel better about Quentin Jackson at 4,300 or a Miles McBride at $4,200, knowing more of a shooter, right? More of an offensive player. Minutes could ultimately end up being the same the way the rotations end up working out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I would say that game, Quentin Jackson has a better matchup against Portland. I'll still side with Quentin Jackson a little bit over McBride. Because I think we've seen now with Jackson starting, I think unless there's an injury to the Knicks or severe foul trouble, I think the minutes are a little safer or a little high. The upside of Jackson's minutes are a little higher than McBride's.
Okay. Timothy wants some thoughts on a Knicks stack tonight. I mean, we definitely like Towns. We'll talk about him at center. And if you wanted to throw in an OG or a Brunson tonight, I'm not going to sit here and fight you on that in this matchup against Dallas. Any other shooting guards for you? You mentioned, obviously, Cole Anthony at point guard. Do we think Anthony sees the same minutes with Suggs back, though? Or, right?
No, but I think he's probably in that last game earned being on the floor.
Okay. Obviously, he can be a high-usage player when out there.
Yeah, so. He can.
Small forward. Franz Wagner, $9,700. Get Chicago. Massive pace-up spot here.
Yes.
Coach Chris saying he's also got a lot of Knicks tonight. We like the Knicks, so we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Massive pace-up spot. The last time he played Chicago, we loved it. He got sick in that game, or it was the illness game, I think it was. And he came out in that one, but he has been nails even in this game against Charlotte, where he was slow to get going. He gave you 6 stocks. He gave you 7 assists. Unusually low rebound total. If he gave you the usual 6 rebounds, you were looking at another 50 fantasy points in that game. This should be a really good spot. They don't have Patrick Williams, who they may be trading now, according to some reports out there. So Wagner finds himself in a good spot. I know people have said Bazulis is a decent defender, but I would still be riding Wagner here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great spot. It's obviously a little different Orlando team. Wendell Carter back, good rebounder. Jalen Suggs back. Some usage off of Franz, but perfectly fine getting there. He'll obviously be lower owned than what he's been. So love Franz. Mostly getting to Scotty Barnes in the same tier. So I like Franz.
Yep. Butler was huge last night. He's got this matchup against Charlotte at 8K. I wasn't sure if they were going to play knowing Butler on a back-to-back, but if he is in, I am in. He's just been really good this season. It's obviously a great spot for him. Levine has himself in a tough matchup against Orlando because it is a big pace down spot. But again, he's been really good. I would rather play Brandon Miller at that price point. You can play any of the Knicks as we discussed. But then we get down here into this little range where Murphy, questionable, but was really good. Played 40 minutes the other night. I know DeJounte Murray is expected to be back. They have, McCollum. Ingram is still questionable for tonight.
Yep.
But I'm still fine if you wanted to get to Murphy. We talked Matherin. Where are you with the mid range?
Yeah, I mean Murphy's definitely in play. Matherin's definitely in play. I like Denny Avdia. That was probably my favorite Blazer tonight. He's looked really good the last few games. 32 and 33 minutes. No Jeremy Grant. I'd assume Denny Avdia would be the starting power forward tonight. That would just make sense. But obviously we've seen crazier things from Chauncey. So it really, for me, Denny would be like the primary guy. And I'm definitely interested in going back to Amin Thompson. I mean, he played 38 minutes last night. He played over Jalen Green. Jalen Green looks terrible when he's out there. I do think there's a chance we get a late scratch Fred VanVleet. I know we're an hour from game time, so it's probably a little too late, but you never know. If VanVleet were to sit, Thompson's your starting point guard, 5,500. I'm good whether he's coming off the bench or not because he's playing all the minutes right now. So Denny and Amin Thompson in this tier for me are like the two priorities.
Coach Chris wants our thoughts on Marcus Smart. We talked about him this morning. He's not playing any minutes right now, but if he was in the starting lineup with no John Morant, I'd have more interest. If he's coming off the bench, it's very difficult to kind of get there. I would rather play McBride, I think, at 4,200 than Smart at 43 tonight.
Memphis is a nightmare. Let's just, right? They're just, I mean, they play 12 guys, so it's probably not a thing.
He must be power forward only then. I was going to say, where's Osor Thompson? Power forward only?
No, he's 4,100.
Is this way down here? Oh, geez, way down here. All right, well, let me ask your thoughts here. If there is no Toby?
I just don't, I mean, coming off blood clots, I just don't think that he would get extended, right? Like, I don't think that we just suddenly.
I mean, they waited. Well, my thought is they waited long enough to make sure he is healthy. The blood clots can't be a problem now. And if anything, it's conditioning, like this says here. I don't think they're limiting him due to blood clots.
I don't know. I don't. But because the blood clots, he didn't get preseason. He didn't get he didn't get summer workouts. He didn't get preseason. He didn't get any of that. So we're getting in real time, Osor Thompson building up from something that was super serious that kept him out last year. So I think Fontecchio would be the guy that would start. I'm not saying that's a great play. He's 3,100 at power forward, but I also, I don't suspect much more than 16. Maybe we get into the low 20s, but for me, that wouldn't be enough to get to him.
If no Reddish, no Connect, do we go back to Rui here? He's good for stretch to begin the year.
Yeah, he's fine. He's looked pretty bad since coming back and kind of gotten benched.
Yeah, Mario wants 2 Lakers for us tonight. I mean,
AD D'Lo would be if guys are out.
Yeah.
If Connect's starting, I'm good with getting Dalton Connect as well.
Yep, that's fine. Eason falls in the same category as Amin Thompson. You can just play Tari Eason. That's no issues there. Najee Marshall, we said if we expect him in that starting lineup, we would certainly be in there. He's been really good. 3 straight 20 actual point games at $5,400. Anything else in small forward?
No, I mean, Solon's still super popular. I expect that ownership to eventually go away.
Dylan Brooks also popular, and I just...
He had a big game last night. He made a lot of shots. Dylan Brooks, if he makes shots, there's a ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. And he's live. He's going to guard Maxey or he's going to guard McCain, and he's live to pick up 3 fouls in the first quarter, and then you're cooked. But he also hasn't gotten in that much foul trouble this year and is also just severely underrated as a basketball player. So if you want to get to Dylan Brooks at 42, I think it's fine.
Power forward, LBJ is up here at $10K. Jalen Johnson, $8,400. Where are we looking to go when it comes to spending up a power forward tonight?
Not really. I'm personally not. I mean, you can always get to LeBron if you want. I think Jalen Johnson obviously has a ceiling, probably a higher ceiling if there was no Trae Young. We saw the triple double without Trae against Boston. So, tournaments for basically everyone up here. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great tournament play. If you get the 32 to 33 minutes, that obviously, boosts his ceiling. There could be 50. Mobley's definitely fine. Siakam hasn't been great, but he's, solid, plays good minutes, good peripherally. When you get the all of it together, you get like a ceiling at this price.
Need some more shots, but
Need some more
everything else
shots.
has been really good. So
Can't really.
Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna tell Mario that Curry's out tonight, Mario. So
Yep.
Don't play Curry to fade ball because Curry is being faded himself by his team. So
Yes, by his team. Kuzma is probably unplayable at 65 in that spot with Jordan Poole back. Can definitely go back to the PJ well. He's been amazing. In the 4 games, sans Luka, right? 39, 43, 45, 55 fantasy points. And now there's no Clay. So PJ could still end up taking 12 to 15 shots tonight, double threat with no Gafford. It doesn't hurt PJ that Gafford's off the floor, right? Because now he's sharing time. If he's not the 5, if they don't go small with PJ, he's sharing the floor with Maxi Kleba, who spends his whole time on the perimeter. So I think PJ at 64 is a little bit interesting. And then you drop down. I do think the Yabusele thing is interesting that they're starting him and Drummond. I don't love the price. I think it's like appropriate, but it isn't at least interesting that they're starting them together.
Hurts his rebounds, I think, though.
It does. It does. I mean, that hurts. I mean, they put they're literally putting a rebound vacuum on the floor, right? That's all what he's built for. I continuously say, and it's not like news, but like when Jabari Smith makes shots, he has a really high ceiling. And if Jalen Smith is the guy, or Jalen Green's the guy that's going to keep getting iced, well, we're going to get ceiling minutes out of Jabari Smith. And he's been really good. He's really popular. If he's your last piece in at 47, because I think most of the value stinks tonight, then I think he's perfectly fine. And then someone I'm getting to, and this is a pivot play, because I saw Jonathan Isaac really popular tonight, John. A guy I'm pivoting to is a lower owned Brandon Clark, who has been really good since Zach Edey's gone down. He's starting 24 and 25 minutes in back-to-back games. He leads the team in potential rebounds. And I think, from how many years we've done this, we understand, like, no matter how badly we want Jaren Jackson to rebound the ball, he doesn't, and he won't. Brandon Clark, 16.5 potentials over the last couple of games. Closed in the Chicago game, played 25 minutes and didn't play half the fourth quarter in the Portland game because of the blowout. So a pivot that I'm personally pursuing over Isaac, who, similar players, like in terms of minutes, at least this year, and both guys are kind of trending in the right direction. I'm just kind of taking the ownership pivot, right? I'm playing Clark over a higher owned Isaac because nobody's playing Brandon Clark. And Brandon Clark's starting and Jonathan Isaac's not. So that's how I'd look at some of the value options down here.
All right. Coach Chris wants to know Larson. I mean, he played 20 minutes last night with guys back, but I'm not gonna throw any money behind there unless guys end up being ruled out for Miami there.
It's impossible. It's just impossible to know because they also were playing Josh Richardson the other day. They weren't playing Burks. Now they flipped them. I mean, they're Duncan Robinson played.
They still started Duncan Robinson, so
I know. And Rozier played 20 minutes last night. It's just hard, really hard to project. If someone sits for Miami, then we start talking Pelle Larson for sure.
What is Robinson's price? Duncan Robinson is 545. He starts again. Would you have any interest?
But if he starts, is Rozier still playing 20 minutes?
He might.
Is he closed? I don't know. I have no confidence in.
Played 31. That's why I say he played the whole game, against Milwaukee. So
I know, but we've seen this time and time again. Haywood Highsmith played 14 minutes last game. He's live to play 30 if he doesn't sit tonight. Spoelstra is always tweaking his lineups, trying to figure out who should be playing, and it's just never consistent.
Sure. All right, center Wemby and AD, your top 2 guys. Get to them if you want. No real argument on either front here. They're going up against each other. But we had our eyes set on Towns pretty much from the get-go here. $9,500. He's been fantastic. Lively's a okay defender, but we saw what Porzingis did to him in the playoffs. So $9,500 for Towns, the guy that you and I were both just kind of locking in here.
Yeah, 1.6 essentially DraftKings points per minute for Towns, $9,500, massive minute ceiling, massive scoring ceiling, elite rebounder, really good passer out of the post. Should be priced with AD and Wemby, truthfully. So Towns is my favorite center of the day. no problems getting to the other guys you mentioned. No problem getting to Sabonis without DeRozan. No problem getting to Şengün, who's coming off a monster triple double. So there's a lot to like $8,000 and up for sure.
LaMelo Ball active for tonight, so you can worry less about his availability. You mentioned obviously Şengün. You have the revenge game if you want for Vuk against Orlando, which means on the flip side it's only 15 minutes, but Wendell Carter had historically done well against Chicago.
Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl, $7,800. You know he'll go up against Yves Missi for most of this game here, but they may not start him. Zubac versus Washington at 7K finds himself in a really good spot. What else are we looking at center?
Yeah, I mean, I think Zoo is pretty interesting without Norm, right? Like he has 20 and 15 written all over him in this spot without Norman Powell. So I definitely think that's a lone play. I don't hate like the DeAndre Ayton Miles Turner matchup like for either guy. Ayton was just a finger issue, so we shouldn't really have any type of limitations, I guess, depending on how much he was able to do like condition wise. But dude, no Clint. What's up?
I said Ayton's pretty good.
Yeah, he's good, and like they're shorthanded. Obviously, no Jeremy Grant. They don't have any like active center, so I don't hate Ayton. I don't hate Turner on the other side. Turner had foul trouble last game and only had to play 28 minutes, and so if he's extended, I think that's an interesting spot. But then like obviously, Derek Lively 55 is intriguing if he can stay healthy. He was throwing up apparently in that game, and like sickness was about for Derek Lively. Obviously, okay to play. Gave whatever he had to Daniel Gafford now. What do we think of Drummond at 5K?
And the price is certainly appealing. I like that they're even starting Yabu next to him because not Yabu had been the backup 5 for most of the season. So he just obviously hasn't been very good, right? Like
he's also been like 7,000. We're also like playing him at $7,000, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he hasn't even paid off the 5K price tag at his current.
During the beginning, I mean, he was like when he was starting. Yeah, he was like almost.
Well, I'm saying, when they've had him starting, they haven't had him playing starting minutes, right?
Sure.
Again, they're starting Yabu, so maybe that forces Drummond into more minutes tonight. But I mean, if Şengün just goes out there and puts him in a blender,
yeah, that's possible.
Then who knows, right? So, in tournaments, sure, I'm still a little skeptical on Drummond here.
Well, I'm interested to see what the ownership says, because I kind of like him at $5,000 here. Just I understand the Şengün spot for sure, but like this is a guy that we are, when extended can grab 20 boards at 5K.
Sure.
And, like there's just not anyone at that price range that can replicate that.
Okay. You mentioned Clark. There's Yves Missi here. Even if he doesn't start, it seems like he is getting the minutes. So
agreed.
That's where I'd go. All right, let's get a lineup. Where do we want to begin things here?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Plugging Towns?
Yeah, let's plug in Towns.
Okay, plug Towns in. What was your favorite value for today? Clark
I like a lot. Yeah.
Clark at 44. That gives us 6K a play. Again, let's see. With guys being ruled in, it kind of throws a little bit off of the value we wanted to go to.
Dylan Brooks, Kevin Porter Jr., Chris Dunn is going to start. Delos potentially. I mean, Dinwiddie, just spitballing like a bunch of values.
Najee Marshall, maybe.
Najee Marshall.
He's 54 though. He's not even that cheap as he used to be.
No, he's not.
All right, 6,100. We got one sort of spend up here.
Miller or Ivy probably.
Yeah.
My preference is Brandon Miller, but I don't care either.
I got them both, honestly. We can play both Miller and Ivy. Point guard, $5,200 for a guard.
I mean,
play forward, 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jabari Smith at forward.
Okay, he's been playing the minutes, so I'm not gonna Can't really argue on it. 5,500, maybe like Monk.
Or Castle. Yeah, one of the two.
And then Util's 57. And that is, I mean, Oubre obviously can play minutes. Eason, if you want another Houston guy.
Denny.
Oh, yeah, Denny 55. Perfect. All right. Ivy, Miller, Marshall, Clark, Towns, Monk, Jabari, and Avdia as our example lineup for everybody here. We like Ayton. We like Misi. Both of those guys are fine here tonight. Thoughts on the Warriors? Are Heald and Anderson playable? I mean, no Curry, so Heald for sure. I like Wiggins more than Kyle Anderson tonight, though. So,
Wiggins has been great with Curry.
Yeah, I would play Wiggins over Anderson, and Heald for sure playable. Guys, Playbook is out. Good luck, everybody. Have a happy Turkey Day. James and I will be back